You are listening to Bold Dreams Held Loosely Coaching Life Edition, the go-to podcast for soul-led coaches, leaders, and healers. My name is Taryn Watts, and I am a master certified coach and the founder of the Mind Rebel Academy, an ICF-accredited coaching school where we train and support people to fully express their purpose through world-class coaching skills. Whether you're a seasoned coach or you are the go-to person for your people, if the heart of a coach beats within you, then these conversations are for you, my friend. We hope they serve you as you continue to create ripples of change that will be felt for generations to come.
What is a life coach? What does a life coach do? Maybe to explore that question, we actually have to talk about what a life coach isn't first, because I think there are so many misconceptions and preconceived notions of what life coaching is that really skew the perception of a life coach.
Yeah. Okay, one thing a life coach is not is someone who has their own life so figured out. They are just mastering every arena of their life. They're not struggling. They don't have any challenges. They're thriving. They know how to do all the things. And they're doing so well that they're going to tell others how to do the same. That is not what a life coach does, even though I understand it might seem like it based on what you might see out on social media or in the world. A life coach is not someone who is doing so well in their life with everything figured out that they've decided to share the secret with others.
Yeah. We often get questions from prospective students who are thinking about joining our coach training, asking, I don't have my life figured out. I'm not thriving in every area of life. Like, how could I be a coach, or how could I be a model for what life is supposed to look like? Like, don't I need to be an expert or have it all figured out in order to be a coach? And the answer is always, always no. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
In fact, I would be weary of anyone out there trying to say that they've got every piece of their life figured out and come follow me, come follow me, come do what I'm doing. I would be weary of that.
Yeah, me too. So to me, it's so funny. Like, I know there are all sorts of people with really amazing skills, really amazing perspectives. Sometimes it's so helpful to learn from someone, a teacher, someone who's, I don't know, doing something well, someone I'm inspired by. That's so wonderful. However, there are so many types of people, so many types of personalities, a literal infinite amount of different types of histories, upbringings, fingerprints, preferences. How in the world could one person's advice apply to everyone in a way that would actually be good and empowering? That just seems so crazy to me. Like, it's impossible. Somebody else without your heart, your soul, your lived experience, your unique desires, how could anybody else tell you the way you should be, tell you the things you need to do? That just seems crazy to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Although at one time, I thought maybe that was true. At one time, I think I did look for the answers. Tell me how to be better. Tell me what I should do. Tell me how to figure out my life. But that search never really landed anywhere, because I think there's a little part of you that always needs to keep looking until you find your own inner voice, And here's one little step into what a life coach does do. A life coach hold and help co-create a space for you to find your own truth, your own wisdom, your own inner teacher, your own next best steps, not try to hand it to you.
I love what you just said about the quest to find the answer outside of you. Perhaps will be never ending until you have learned how to access that inner wisdom, that inner teacher, to find your own answers. That quest will never end until you direct your attention inward. And what a truly masterful coach does, rather than offering you advice or offering you the way or offering you a roadmap to get to where you want to be. They help you orient inward to access that inner knowing, access that inner voice. And until that voice within becomes louder and louder and louder and louder, and then that becomes the voice you seek or the voice you crave in times of, when you're feeling lost or when you're unsure which way to go.
Yeah.
That's what a true masterful coach will do for you.
Yeah. What else isn't a life coach? What else doesn't a life coach do?
You just mentioned, so a life coach is not someone who's got their life all figured out. A life coach is also not someone who is going to give you advice. Someone who's not going to come in and analyze your life, analyze exactly what you want. You are here and you want to get there. A life coach is not going to map it out for you and tell you how to get there. A life coach is not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
That's not coaching.
Yeah.
That might be mentoring or consulting. And sometimes those modalities get confused with life coaching.
Yeah.
So a mentor is someone who has been where you want to go. A business mentor, for example, who's grown their business to a number that you want to get to, can help mentor you to show you the way based on how they did it. A consultant is an expert in a particular area who can come in for either one person or organization and consult on how to get from A to B. A coach is none of those things. A coach trusts that you have the answers inside of you. And a coach's job is to hold such pure, unfiltered, unprojecting space to help draw that wisdom and draw that knowing and knowledge out of you so that you become a guide. It's your voice that's guiding you forward. It's no one else's. And so a coach does not give advice. A coach doesn't fix. A coach doesn't heal. A coach doesn't put back something that's broken together. A coach will hold you whole, capable, resourceful, and creative, and trust that the answers are inside of you.
Yeah. I like that. I think that perspective is really important from the big picture. The perspective that a coach holds of their client is not looking at that client thinking, you're coming to me because, oh, you're broken, you need fixing here, here, and there. Oh, this isn't working for you. We're going to tighten this up. That is absolutely not the perspective that a coach holds. The way the coach views the client is actually with so much trust in the capability, resourcefulness, creativeness, wholeness of that individual. And I think that's really important, that fundamental lens to view another human with. I think there's so many other places where we're viewed as flawed and where our flaws and our problems are diagnosed and we're given a plan to fix them. It's the exact opposite. What if there's nothing fundamentally flawed about you? What if you're not broken? What if your feelings and your insides actually work properly and they have an important message to tell you? What if the yearnings of your soul are real and they have something to express in this life? That is what a coach does.
That is what a coach does.
Yeah.
When we train our coaches, we always look at it from two levels. Like there's the actual skills you learn, and then there's the embodiment of becoming a coach. And everything that you just said, the stance that you take, the stance of holding someone whole, capable, resourceful, and creative, and really trusting that the answers are within them, that's part of this embodiment piece that is often the hardest to do. Because as a coach, if someone is paying me to coach them and might have a preconceived notion or a misperception of what coaching is, and they might come to you with thinking that you are going to show them the way, you're going to give them advice, you are going to help them get from where they are today to where they want to be. And so as a coach, we actually need to change how we derive our value And in other areas of our lives, our value actually might be placed on being the person that fixes the problem, or being the person that has the good advice, or being the person that helps people get from point A to point B. And that transition is often the most hardest thing for students to do.
Yeah.
And we hear that time and time again in coach training, right? That rewiring of our brain to actually believe and trust that someone has the answers inside of themselves, even when they don't believe they do.
Yeah.
And our value as a coach is not in someone's progress. But that's really important. We have to release our control of that, right? If I'm coaching you, Michelle, my value as a coach cannot be linked to what you do and your progress, or else I've just created some funky energy inside of our relationship. And now all of a sudden I have an agenda for you. And if I have an agenda for you, I'm certainly projecting onto you. I'm certainly wanting you to get from point A to point B. And if you don't, you could disappoint me.
Yeah.
And that creates all sorts of funky energy in a coach-client relationship, in any relationship, really. Holding expectations, holding agendas. In the coaching relationship, the client owns the agenda. The client owns their objectives. The client owns their next steps. The client owns their accountability. We, as the coach, become their thinking partner. We help them to untangle the tangled threads within so that they can come to the things that they want, like claiming the yearnings that they want, the things that they want, making sense of, things that might be confusing for them so that they can powerfully claim what they want and claim where it is that they want to go. So I think, again, that shift, that mindset shift cannot be understated.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been a coach for over a decade, and I continue to learn what that means, what it means to truly hold someone whole, capable, resourceful, and creative, and really recognizing when I'm gripping to something or when I have an agenda for my client.
Yeah. It's until or unless you have experienced the potential and power and transformation possible in coaching, either as the client or the coach, it can sometimes be hard to understand really how powerful and transformative it can be. So many times we've heard students say, will someone really pay me for that? What am I even giving them? Is that really enough? Almost like that can't possibly be true that someone would pay me to do that. Is that actually valuable to somebody, And I know, although we can't magically transmit the knowing of what's possible in a coaching session, what would you say to people who have that doubt?
To coaches or to the client?
Both. I don't know. Which one?
Coaches?
Coaches first?
Yeah. I know what's true for me is that the more time I spend with my inner teacher, the more time I spend inward. And what helps me access that inward exploration is the guidance that a masterful coach can help to facilitate. The more I access that, the more I crave that, the more I yearn for that. And so over the course of, ever since I've discovered what coaching is, and I've experienced many, many, many other modalities, but nothing does it for me like coaching. Nothing. Because I crave that now. I yearn for that now. Everything unlike that, I will keep searching for in Google or in someone, an expert, or someone to tell me, right, what I need to do. And that might be an initial instinct to go out and go search outward for my answers. But the more and more and more I spend inward, the more I yearn for that, the moment I'm feeling disconnected within myself. And now there's no other modality for me because I'm so connected to myself. I have such a fine-tuned radar now for anything unlike that. When someone tries to give me advice or tell me what to do or give me the solution or the formula, I'm almost repelled by it.
Yeah.
Almost instantly repelled by it because I need to go inward to access that for myself.
Yeah.
So I think that the answer for coaches is to continue spending time within, because once you believe that and know that to be true for yourself, then you innately know the power of doing that for another human.
Yeah.
And for clients, for people looking into the coaching world and wondering, what would I get out of this? If this is not someone telling me to live my life this way or telling me what to do, what do I get out of this? I would say just give it a try. See how magnificent it feels to have someone truly listen to you, to have someone help you access that inner wisdom for yourself.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is when I first started dipping my toes into the coaching waters and, dabbling with the idea that I was going to tune into what was inside of me, what I believed, what I thought, what felt like alignment to me, what resonated with me. I remember feeling like it was actually a terrifying leap to do that. It actually made me feel like trusting myself instead of an expert. Actually, I worried in some moments, could this even be irresponsible? Who am I to know for myself? Seems perhaps much safer to trust an expert, somebody who's done this. They can validate that I'm on the right path. That actually seemed safer. And deciding to continue to walk forward along the path that my inner wisdom wanted to take me on, my preferences wanted to take me on, felt really scary and really radical. And it was a real stretch. And I think it felt a little scary and a little uncertain for a little while until life started showing me that life started getting better. Life started showing me, yes, when you listen to yourself, life feels better. Yes, when you honor that thing that feels bad, or say no to the thing you don't want, even though other people tell you you should just suck it up or do it, life gets better. I feel stronger. I feel clearer. I feel happier. So, as a client, I totally understand the doubt perhaps that would come from, like, is this really even good? How am I supposed to know what I need? That's why I'm coming to you, because I don't know what I need. So I understand that doubt and also even that fear. But I'm not sure if there's anything we could say to really dismiss that. I think the only way through that doubt and fear is just dip your toes in. Just try and see what happens. If you don't like what happens to your life when you listen to your own truth, fine, no big deal, right? But I don't think that's going to happen. The more I get in tune with myself, the more I create opportunities, just like you, the more I create opportunities and spaces for myself to go inward, the better life gets, in a way that nobody else could ever write for me, because nobody else knows my story. Nobody else knows my soul. Nobody else knows what's going to be the perfect fit for me. And it's so wonderful and empowering to get to uncover that and choose that. I think being a coaching client might be one of my favorite things in the entire world.
Me too.
Yeah, it's so good.
I love being on the receiving end of being a client.
Yeah.
I love being on the receiving end of coaching. I think everyone should have a coach.
I so agree. Yeah.
One last point about what coaching isn't, and perhaps what it is that in a coaching conversation, the coach should not be the one doing most of the talking. There's an 80-20 rule that we teach about, where the client should be doing at least 80% of the talking, leaving 20% or less to the coach. I like to imagine that in a coaching conversation, there's a flashlight, like a spotlight. And whenever the client is talking, the spotlight is on the client, which is where it should be. The spotlight should always be on the client. When the coach talks, they're pointing the spotlight on them.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's fine to do as long as it's in the truest of service to the client. So things like reflecting, asking powerful questions, helping the client to continue to express themselves, all really powerful ways for the coach to turn the flashlight back on them and then put it back on the client. When a coach is talking about their own lived experience, their own advice that they want to share to someone, their own time they experienced something similar to what the client has, or maybe their sister has experienced something similar, or a friend, they're taking the flashlight away from the client and putting it on themselves. So we just have to always be very, very mindful of that spotlight. This is the client's space, the client's time. Every time we take that spotlight away, it should be in the truest service to the client's fullest expression and discovery of self.
You know, as you mentioned, the turning the spotlight onto a coach's own experience, own stories. You know, I want to acknowledge that sometimes in life, there's really beautiful moments where you hear someone else's story and it helps, you know, either inspire you or gives a perspective or something that perhaps is enriching. And we're not saying other people's stories aren't valuable. We're not saying that sharing a life experience or perspective is not valuable. Sharing your story is beautiful. Teachers are beautiful. You know, like all perspectives are beautiful. Books are beautiful. All of that is beautiful. And it exists. So much of it exists. You can find other people's stories, other people's teachings. You can find it. What is so much more rare is the space we're talking about. So we're not saying those things are bad. Those things are wonderful. And this space where someone can help facilitate keeping the spotlight on you and going inward and finding your story that, yeah, may look like other people's, but like finding your story. The only place you can find your own story is in you. And the space a really well-trained mindful coach can hold is still rare these days. And so that is why we're teaching what we're teaching. That's why we're saying, see what happens when you actually keep the spotlight on the client. Try that. See what happens. Because these spaces are so precious and there's still few of them relatively out in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. If you are drawn to the MRA, it's more than likely that you are the go-to person for your people. You are here to deeply impact the lives of those you love and serve. And the MRA's mission is to support you in your life's work. To learn more about our suite of trainings, including our renowned flagship coach training, leadership trainings, and continuing coach education programs, please visit our website at www.themindrebel.com.